The Chase and Big Joe Show, sponsored by the Omni Nashville Hotel here on this Tuesday morning. 4's company filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Ian Safar with us as well. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Gentlemen, good morning. Good to be with you on this Tuesday.
Wait a minute. You're not the suit.
I'm not the suit. I was telling you before, I was thinking about leading with the it's showtime, folks, but I didn't want people to get confused.
You're Jake Lyman of 4's company from 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
You're Connor Newt.
I am.
4's company host as well.
I am, yes.
How long have you guys been working here?
Only like
a couple days.
3 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, yes, Chase McCabe, Big Joe Dubin out today. We are filling in. Should be a fun show today. We're going to talk some college football. What are we, 67 days away? I know they've been doing the countdown. We're going to kind of mix our show with the Chase and Big Joe show. So we'll still do What Day Is It? Celebrity Birthdays coming up at 10:45.
Because it's sponsored.
Yes, it is sponsored. We'll do Newt's Notes coming up at 9:45. So if you've listened to our show on Saturdays before, you know Connor gets his own segment. And we'll lead off with some headlines today. I'll start with Game 5, NBA Finals last night. I think it went the way a lot of people were expecting. Oklahoma City wins by 11. Really wasn't all that close. It didn't help Indiana that Tyrese Halliburton wasn't 100%. He only scored 4 points. But Oklahoma City now one win away from their first NBA Finals as the Thunder. Obviously had a championship back in Seattle, but they've been the best team all year, maybe one of the best teams in recent memory, and it looks like they'll probably hoist the trophy either coming up on, I guess, Thursday night would be the next game, and then Sunday would be Game 7.
It feels like it'll be 2 weeks from now with how long they drag
it out. They've got to keep the NBA in the news as much as possible.
It's brutal. Like, I get you can watch it and stuff on ESPN and so forth, but come on. Like, we can get this done in 2 to 3 days.
Right.
If you really want to map this out, have the College World Series kind of interject in between those days. That's it.
Well, they want the NBA to stay in the front of people's minds as long as possible, because once you get into July, people start to shift over towards football as you get ready for college football. NFL training camps open up. So they've got to keep the finals going as long as possible. And then you get into the draft and then free agency. Kevin Durant will get traded in the next couple days. They want the NBA at the top of the headlines as long as possible. So as many off days in between games, it keeps people talking about it on First Take and all those other shows. But the Thunder, they're 1 win away. Tonight, the Panthers are 1 win away from their second consecutive Stanley Cup. The Cup will be in the building in Sunrise, Florida tonight. And I feel like it's hard to imagine that the Panthers aren't going to finish it off. But for the sake of Ian Safar on Weekend Winners, Connor Newt might have helped you out picking the Panthers back in Game 5 and pick the Oilers in Game 6.
I don't even know.
Your lock hit too.
I heard. Oh, thank you.
So yeah,
I was not asked. I was just like, maybe I'll just let Newt go for it. I was not asked about picks. I was not alerted about anything. I woke up. I thought about it Thursday night. I was on vacation last week, so everybody's just filling in. I thought about it last week. I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll ask me about my picks. Then I saw Robbie was also out. On Friday. And I was like, oh, and then I never heard anything. I forgot about it. And then like later in the afternoon, I was like, oh, I guess we just went with it. So
we've missed one.
Yeah. Total. So Joe and Robbie both went with Oilers Game 5, Panthers Game 6. So if the Oilers win tonight, Connor would have gotten you 2 for 2. Big difference there to try and make the jump. As I think Joe said that this week is the last week for Weekend Winners.
That is true. So I'm trying to do my worst to first here just to pull off the comeback. So it'll be a joint effort between me and Connor.
Yes. Nothing wrong with a little phone a friend.
Yes.
No. Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
There
Familiar?
you go.
That's before y'all's time.
Use all your lifelines.
There you go.
Tune in on Friday for the final edition of the year of Weekend Winners. Other headlines, you guys got any at the top of the mind?
Nothing that really sticks out besides professional darts. I'll get it out of the way real fast. Northern Ireland, they end up winning the PDC World Cup against the Wales, which was against Gerwyn Price, the former rugby star.
Is there a country that is like a powerhouse in darts?
Oh, England.
Oh
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
England is the powerhouse. They have 1 and 2. It's Luke Littler and Luke Humphreys. They're the 1 and 2 of the
Wow.
world. So,
Okay.
they did not end up winning the World Cup of Darts, but they did bring home a little bit of hardware. But Northern Ireland, it was pretty impressive because every single leg was 180, 180, 180. I'm like, holy cow. This is, you're basically exchanging left and right hooks in boxing. That's what it was. It was awesome. You guys have to go back and watch on YouTube.
I might have to. I can't believe I missed it.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
Sunday was the day.
Probably not.
It's just busy.
Connor, you got anything?
Yeah, we'll go back to the NBA. How about this blockbuster trade that occurred?
Yeah, Desmond
Sunday.
Bane.
Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies, a little bit of local news, flipped to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and here's the kicker: 4 first-round picks.
Including the Suns pick unprotected next year, which, as a Suns fan, that is a valuable pick because the Suns are probably going to be horrible this year.
So I got to think they're not going to use all 4 of those picks. I think they're going all in on one of 2 players, Kevin Durant or Giannis.
Yeah.
One of the 2.
If you could pair Ja Morant with Giannis, that puts you back up into the top half conversation in the Western Conference.
I mean, it is a weird trade though, because I'm like, what value does a first round pick have now? Because I understand the NBA is 2 rounds, but unprotected first round picks from, the Suns who are going to be horrible. No offense.
No, that's a valuable pick. That's why it keeps getting traded. Like the Nets traded it to the Magic, or the Magic traded it to the Rockets. Like it keeps getting passed around because people think the Suns are going to be horrible next year, which is probably a pretty good guess.
Interesting. I saw on the article, it said the 2029 first round draft pick is a top 2 protected.
Yeah. So if it's in the top 2, it stays with whoever owns it. But
Right.
if it's outside of it, then the
So is that a
Grizzlies.
part of the pick swap then? Because they said there was a pick swap and 4 unprotected picks.
Yeah, so pick swap is, I guess, they get the option to choose whichever one's higher. But if it's protected, then that means the team that owns it keeps it if it's in the top 2. But then it would get harder to keep the next year. So the next year, it would probably be top 1 protected until eventually the Grizzlies would get it. Texter on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 1978 goes, Darts, did I turn on an EPL podcast? Anybody who hasn't listened to our show on Saturdays probably is very confused, but
we're just as confused.
Our first segment, everybody gets to pick their headlines of what's been going on in the sports world, and Dr. Crane, he keeps a close eye on darts and rugby, and we always get our updates. So you'll become much more educated on these sports that maybe you haven't heard from before.
Listen, when you're bored in June and July and you have nothing to talk about, guess what? Turn to 1025 The Game for darts and rugby updates.
The darts and rugby update. I do want to mention 2 quick things before we get to our question of the day today. Shohei Ohtani back on the mound last night. That was a little unexpected. I thought it was going to be closer to the All-Star break when we saw him back out there, but using him as an opener, he gave up 1 earned run on 2 hits in 1 inning, but was up over 100 miles an hour with his fastball. So good to see from Shohei Ohtani. It's good for the game when Shohei's playing both ways. Like, I don't think they should use him as a starter, which is what it seems like they're going to do. I think you work him up and have him as a weapon out of the bullpen in the playoffs. Like, hey, 7th, 8th inning, you can bring in Shohei Ohtani to just rip it for about 15 pitches and get you 3 outs.
I love that.
But it seems like they want to ramp him up to be a starter for the playoffs, which great. It's effective too, but I think he would be dominant as a setup guy, maybe even your closer.
I think they could do that because if you look at their whole pitching rotation, I mean, Tyler Glasnow, they have May,
Blake Snell, when they get healthy.
Yeah, like they're loaded.
Yamamoto, who may end up winning the NL Cy Young. Well,
Sasaki.
He's probably right behind Skeens.
Yeah. So I just think all those guys, when you have Ohtani in the just back end of all this, use him. Like you said, use him as a closer.
Right. And speaking of great pitching performances, Gage Wood yesterday,
oh my God,
the first no-hitter in 65 years at the Men's College World Series, 19 strikeouts, and he hit a batter in the 9th inning. That's the only base runner that Murray State had. Maybe like across all levels, relatively pound for pound, maybe one of the most dominant pitching performances of all time.
I mean, that is the first, I think they said this yesterday on the broadcast, it's the first no-no in 65 years of the College World Series.
There's only been 2 ever before this. One was in 1950, and the opponent was Tufts University. That is how long ago. That was the first one ever in 1950, and then 1960 was the last one.
I mean, it was a clinic. If you watch it, I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I watched probably the 7th inning on.
Right.
Once I
Once
knew,
everybody started saying,
once
hey,
everyone started watching, yeah, exactly. But from what I saw, I mean, he was just getting guys to chase. That last strikeout, he threw high, and the guy just chased it.
Right.
He was fantastic.
He was great, and Arkansas stays alive. They don't know their opponent for today yet because LSU and UCLA was postponed yesterday. So they're going to get underway coming up in about 50 minutes. Will be the remainder of LSU, UCLA at 10 o'clock Central Time. Then we've got 2 elimination games today. Louisville, Oregon State will be at 1, and then at 6, it'll be Arkansas against the loser of LSU and UCLA. Chanticleers are waiting to try and get to the championship series. I picked them on Saturday, so we'll see if Coastal Carolina can make it. I have question of the day today. I wanted to go off of the news that Cam Ward is getting his docuseries, Zero Star, on Tubi.
Come on.
A 6-part docuseries showing his path from zero-star recruit to number 1 overall pick. So my question of the day is, what is a sports story that doesn't have a documentary that you think should? And it's going to be hard because, Untold and you've got all of these sports stories that are getting documentaries within like 2 years of it happening. Like the sign stealer stuff at Michigan already has a documentary. So there aren't a lot of stories that haven't been told. What is one that you would like to see a documentary on? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. We will give our answers coming up at the top of the 10 o'clock hour. Great show coming up as 4's Company fills in for Chase and Big Joe today. We're going to talk some college football on the other side. We'll talk Titans later in the show. But yes, coming up, we're going to take an early look at the SEC. It's going to be an interesting college football season, and we'll also take a look at some of the local teams too. Where do Vandy and Tennessee stand as we head towards fall camp in just a couple of weeks? Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin today here on the Jason Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is Body Rock. Plank, lunge, twist, and push your limits with Body Rock's dynamic muscle sculpting Pilates-inspired classes designed to rock your body to the core. Get half off a $50 gift card now at thegamenashville.com/deals to use at any of Body Rock's 4 Nashville locations while supplies last. That must be where Big Joe is this morning.
45 minutes a day, man.
Taking advantage of the Body Rock classes. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin today here on the Chase and Big Joe show. Before we get into college football, I do want to remind you, our question of the day: what is a sports story that you think needs a documentary? After the news yesterday that Cam Ward is going to get his own docuseries on Tubi, we want to know, what is a sports story that doesn't have a documentary yet that you would love to see? We've already got some answers on our text line. You can join in 615-737-1025. We'll get to those coming up at 10 o'clock. But as we know, it's 67 days? I keep forgetting where we are.
That is correct.
67 days away from college football starting. Going to be an exciting season. So let's look way too early, maybe not way too early, but too early, at what the SEC is going to look like. I think you kind of know that the usual suspects are going to be towards the top. Georgia, Texas, with Arch Manning at the helm. LSU should be competitive with Garrett Nussmeier adding a second season as the starter.
Kentucky.
Yes, throw Kentucky right in that same conversation. Alabama, you can probably assume, it wasn't a great first season for Kalen DeBoer, but with the amount of talent that Alabama always gets, they're going to be in the conversation. How do we feel about the SEC as we get within about 2 months of the college football season starting? And we now know that the college football playoff, still 12 teams, but going to be straight seeding, chance for the SEC maybe to get a couple of buys in this year's CFP.
Is it safe to say I'm, as a SEC person for football, say I'm nervous for this conference?
Really?
Yeah, I am. I only think there's going to be about 4 teams that are really going to, as Hal Gill says, the cream rises to the top. I think there's only going to be 4 of them that are really going to stand out. That'd be Georgia, Texas, maybe Alabama, and I have A&M. I think
really
A&M is a sleeper team for me.
You like their quarterback, Nashville local kid, right?
Marcel Reed.
Friend of mine.
Is he really?
I wouldn't. Acquaintance.
Okay.
We know each other.
That's cool.
I ran into him at a GameStop a couple months ago.
Hey.
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
I bet he'll be playing NCAA.
Probably playing with himself.
Yeah, it's possible. The reason why I think A&M is one of the sleeper teams for me is because, one, obviously Marcel Reed, but if you look at the rest of their depth chart, it's all young guys. Like you're looking at young wide receivers, young tight ends, and we're talking about redshirt sophomores. You have a few juniors here or there, a few transfer seniors. I mean, there is a solid core. It's kind of what the Titans are doing. There's a solid core of young developing athletes that can develop with the quarterback. And I think with the way Mike Elko was, showing his team's promise in year 1, I think year 2 is almost like reloading in a roundabout way. So that's where my ties lie.
You want to talk sleepers? There's a sleeper a little bit north of that and east. Go to Columbia, South Carolina. That is a sleeper. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Lenora Sellers will be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. He has it all, man. He's got speed, he's got a deep arm, and he has a good offense to run through. I like South Carolina this year. I think they are a dark horse to make it into the playoff for the SEC.
I kind of like that.
I like South Carolina, and I hate it because my Hokies open up against South Carolina, and I think Shane Beamer is going to beat his father's school pretty handily in that game in Atlanta coming up on Labor Day weekend. A team that I really like, Florida. Like, they finished the season strong last year once DJ Lagway got in there, and I think Lagway, he's going to be, I don't know if you can say he's going to be a Heisman winner by the time he's done there, but I think he's going to be a top 5 NFL pick by the time he leaves Gainesville.
See, Florida to me is so, they're either going to go 9-3 or 3-9. I think there's no in between.
And Billy Napier saved his job by finishing strong last year. And, you saw the promise moving forward with Lagway. Once they moved on, Graham Mertz was their quarterback to start the year last year. Once they made that change, you saw it start to build for Florida. Right now, I'm looking at Athlon Sports. They released their preseason top 25. Get this. Guess how many SEC teams are in this preseason top 25?
8.
Higher.
10.
10.
Wow.
10 SEC teams are in this top 25. 4 in the top 10. They're kind of the ones you'd think. Texas, Georgia, LSU, Alabama are in the top 10. Florida's 11, South Carolina's 12. And then you've got a bunch, 18 through 21 are all SEC teams. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Tennessee. And I would venture to guess there are probably a couple others that are just outside there. I think Vanderbilt is probably a borderline top 25 team going into this year.
Kentucky, who has won the SEC 10 consecutive years, but the NCAA refuses to acknowledge it.
But you are right in saying that there aren't a ton of SEC teams that don't feel like they're maybe not top 25, but they're top 40 teams.
I am totally and completely kidding.
No, I know you're kidding, but that is the SEC is so deep that the 14th best team in the SEC is probably better than the 5th or 6th best team in a lot of conferences. Yeah. You look at Auburn, they weren't good last year, but they bring in Jackson Arnold, the transfer from Oklahoma, former 5-star, wasn't great with the Sooners, but they feel like they're going to make a big step this year under Hugh Freeze. Missouri, they were a borderline college football playoff team for a little bit there. Eli Drinkwitz thought that they were going to make it. They're probably not going to be as good this year, losing Luther Burden, but they're probably still a top 50 team in college football. So there's just no easy team to beat in the SEC, especially with the strides that Vandy's made this year.
Well, there is one easy team to beat, and he's sitting to my left.
Yeah.
Right. We get it. I was hoping nobody bring up the cowbell, but yeah.
Sorry.
You know, on the back of a trailer hitch, you can add anything to it. Yeah,
right.
Just add the cowbell to that. That's all it's going to be ringing down the road. That's it. I mean, they're going to be bottom of the barrel as usual. The only game we need to win is against Ole Miss. That's primarily it.
Ole Miss.
That's it. That's
just
all we
win
need.
the Egg Bowl. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of teams where it's like you could go 1-11, not the big teams. You could go 1-11, but if you beat your rival, you feel good.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel with UVA.
That's how I feel with Louisville.
Right. Go 1-11, but it's not a failure of a season as long as you beat that one team.
Yeah. And back to my initial comment when you asked about this whole topic to begin with, my nervousness for this conference is that, you know, you've talked about cannibalism within the SEC. Is it possible that this conference cannibalizes itself to the point where not a lot of teams will make the playoff? Right.
It's like,
that's my biggest worry.
If a lot of teams, and there will be teams at the top of the SEC who go 10-2, 11-1, but yeah, if the middle portion of the SEC is going 8-4, you could see the committee leaving some of those teams out, even though their strength of schedule is going to be so much higher. It's going to be interesting. Ben on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunted.com, calls his shot. He says only 4 SEC teams will make the playoff. Only 1 will make it past the first round. It'll be because of the bye week.
Only 4? That's a fourth of the field.
Third of the field.
Yeah. My math is not great.
How many made it? 4 made it last year, which, I mean, yeah, only 4. I think it's a minimum of 4 for the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
But I would guess that more than 1 is going to make it past the first round. SEC football is, you know, baseball, we've seen how dominant it's been. I think SEC football is pretty much up there. Yeah, those Big 10 teams at the top, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn States, they can compete. Oregon, but the SEC, it's different in terms of depth.
Just means more.
It does. It just means more. Coming up, we're going to get into some of the local teams, Vandy and Tennessee. Some comments from Diego Pavia today that are making the rounds, with Pavia saying that he thinks Vandy not only going to be the premier program in the state, but one of the premier programs in college football. So where does Vandy stand heading into this season? Where do the Vols stand, especially after the sudden departure of Nico Iamaleava? We'll get into that next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, and Connor Newt filling in for Chase and Big Joe today. The Chase and Big Joe Show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Tune into ESPN 94.9 The Fan. Tonight as the Nashville Sounds take on the Iowa Cubs. Pregame begins at 6:20. First pitch is at 6:35. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, 4's Company, filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin today. We're diving in on the SEC. A little too early to make any sweeping declarations about what the conference is going to look like. You know, we haven't gotten to fall camp yet. We've still got over 2 months until we open up the season. But you can see that the SEC is going to be deep again this year. And that includes the two teams in our state. And Diego Pavia this morning on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, one of the quotes that is kind of floated out there is that he said, after this year, Vanderbilt is going to be the team in the state of Tennessee. And although
Stop.
Stop. I don't know if I would pick Vandy to beat Tennessee this year, especially with the game in Knoxville. But when you look at those two rosters, and Tennessee lost a lot this year. They did. And Vandy is bringing a lot back. They brought back Diego Pavia. I don't know if it would shock me if Vandy did have a better season than Tennessee. I don't know if it would shock me. Tennessee, I think, has more talent across the board, but they've just lost so many key players. Dylan Sampson's gone. James Pierce is gone. You lose Nico unexpectedly in spring practice. So, again, Diego is always going to be confident in himself. He also said that he thinks Vandy is going to be a power across all of college football.
Stop it. Look, it just frustrates me. I'm tired of him. It's Vanderbilt, okay? Vanderbilt is never going to be a national power.
It's a different Vanderbilt, though.
Okay, but it's Tennessee. You're going to Tennessee in Neyland. Tennessee, I sound like a total Tennessee homer right now, but I promise you I'm not. Look, it's Tennessee in Neyland. Tennessee is playing with house money this season. No quarterback that's worth much. Lost a lot on defense. They'd be honestly be surprised to go 8-4, 9-3. Vanderbilt, I think, is riding too much ego. I think they've overachieved. I would not be surprised if they regress this year. That's saying, I think D-May says this all the time. You had a good year, but now everyone's got film on you.
It's a good point.
I don't see I don't understand the hype. I don't think they're going to exceed expectations. They did that last year.
That's true. Vandy's not going to fully sneak up on anybody this year. But
plus, look at their schedule. Got to go to Neyland.
Right. To Alabama.
To Alabama. You got to go
to Texas.
That's correct.
Yeah. LSU comes here.
You have to go to South Carolina. I don't know if y'all mentioned that or not.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go to Virginia Tech, which, I don't think the Hokies are going to be that good, but playing in Lane Stadium and it's a night game.
I would not be
shocked.
I would not be shocked if they went 4-8 this year.
Really?
Vanderbilt?
I saw their over-under is 4.5 in Vegas. And I feel like,
I think I would bet the over, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go 4-8. 5-7 is the ceiling.
I understand that Diego Pavia saying that they're going to be a national powerhouse, probably not 100% realistic in just, they're trying to build on last year, but to see them go from 7-6 to 10-2, I think would be a pretty big leap. But as we talked about with Cam Ward last week, like, you got to have confidence in yourself, right? Like, you have to go into it thinking you can beat anybody. And I think that's the difference with Vandy now than 2 years ago is I think there was, they would never say it, but maybe in the back of your mind of like, I don't know if we can win these games. Now I feel like Vandy goes into every game thinking they can win it because they've shown that they can play with everybody.
And that's where I think they get punched in the mouth. I think they are overconfident.
Yes and no. I could honestly see Vandy winning like 8 games this year. I really do. I think
that's what I'm thinking.
I think they could really win 8 to 9 games and maybe have a conversation to be looked at as a, maybe a New Year's 6 type team. That's just me. But overall, looking at Vanderbilt against Tennessee, I still would give the upper edge to Vanderbilt. I really think Tennessee is going to have a regressing year when it comes to the whole Nico situation with at the quarterback position. They're going to go 7-5, maybe 6-6. That's how I feel. I'm not trying to be a Tennessee hater by all means, but Tennessee to me, they haven't shown anything. Like you said earlier, Jake, they've lost a lot. And to me, looking at the offseason right now, they haven't shown anything to the average viewer that they have re-upped anything. They've bolstered their lineup at all. Like, I get they have George McIntyre. I get that. That's their ace in the hole when it comes to quarterback in the future.
Right.
But as for this year, that's not the case.
Tennessee is a favorable schedule looking at it right now. Georgia at home. I mean, you have your bye games, UAB, and, they go to Atlanta to play Syracuse.
I understand Tennessee struggles at Sanford Stadium in Georgia, but does that really? I think Georgia wins that game running away.
Yes.
Even at Neyland.
By 30.
Which I was actually just looking at that week 3. I was kind of trying to see if maybe there's a chance Vandy, South Carolina could be game day. Because if Vandy's coming off a win, well, both of them would be coming off of wins against Virginia Tech because the Hokies play both those teams. But there's probably too many good games this week. This week 3 schedule, Georgia at Tennessee. You've got Florida at LSU, Texas A&M at Notre Dame, and Vandy at South Carolina. Like that's a heck of a week 3 schedule in September. Like, I know you're used to the non-conference games in September, but those are all pretty big conference matchups with the exception of A&M Notre Dame. I'm looking at that. I will be camped out on the couch for that one, I think.
So you're telling me that's not wedding week?
Yeah. Do not plan your wedding for Saturday, September 13th.
Or at all in the fall.
That's a whole different discussion. But with Tennessee, we were mentioning their schedule. Tennessee, it's going to be one of the bigger questions across the SEC this year because, yes, that they have talent. Like, Heupel is recruited well, but they did lose a lot, and the unexpected loss of Nico Iamaleava makes things a lot more interesting. Do we think this is kind of a gap year for Tennessee where it's like, hey, they might go 7-5, 8-4, but then they can reload for next year?
I don't want to say gap year, but I think they're, like I said earlier, they're playing with house money this year.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot to lose. And they're okay with going out there and saying, hey, we're just going to develop our younger guys. We've lost a lot. Nico gave them the excuse. They can say, hey, well, we've lost our quarterback. We spent all this time trying to develop. Now he's gone. They've got a guy from the transfer in Joey Aguilar, but I think they're playing with house money. And I think they go like 9-3, 8-4.
Wow.
They'll miss the playoff, but I wouldn't say gap year. I would just say this is a development year.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a gap year. I remember when Paul Feinbaum hopped on with Jason McJoe earlier this year. I think it was back probably 2-3 months ago. But they asked him about this same situation, and Paul was like, yeah, the fans will understand. They'll understand. But to me, I don't think they'll understand.
That was where I was going next, is like, Vols fans say that, hey, Heupel gets a pass this year, even if things go bad because Nico sprung this on him. But, they say that in April, May, and June. Will they be saying that in November if this team is, 6-4 heading into the final 2 weeks of the season?
They're going to be upset. They're going to be thinking we need to change something immediately.
I don't think anyone will be calling for Heupel's head, but I also don't think that the reaction will be as reasonable as they're saying it will be.
They'll crash out when they see their offense is still, run, pass, punt, or Todd Downing style.
Yeah.
If Tennessee only wins 4 to 5 games this year, I'll say it. I will say it. Josh Heupel might be gone.
Not this year,
but
not this year.
Josh Heupel, and I know that Vols fans love Hendon Hooker, but I did not expect Hendon Hooker to ever really be heard from again when he left Virginia Tech. Like, I thought he was going to go be a backup for 2 years at Tennessee, and pretty much that was it. And Josh Heupel turned him into a possible Heisman winning quarterback. So I will give Heupel credit that he's turned a guy that I didn't really have a lot of hope for after he left Blacksburg and made him an NFL draft pick.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he can do with Aguilar and Merklinger and the other options they've got there. Texter on our text line 2459 asks, what do you think South Carolina's record will be? I know Connor was saying he's the sleeper.
Let's look at their schedule, because I'm not just going to say 10-2 with no background information. While I do that, you guys talk.
I'm looking at it. So they've got
it's favorable.
It is favorable. Like, I'm looking at their first 5 games. Vandy's probably the toughest team they play in the first 5.
Let's see. Let's go game by game of the South Carolina Gamecocks, which I never thought I'd say on this radio station, but here we go. Virginia Tech, that's a win. South Carolina State, that's a win. Vanderbilt, I think that's a win.
Yeah, in Columbia.
Mizzou, that's a win. Kentucky, it's a loss. I'm just kidding. They'll win. That's 4-0. LSU, it's a toss-up.
At LSU, though.
At LSU, I think that's a loss. Oklahoma, it's a win. Alabama at home, toss-up.
That's a toss-up. I would say they probably win one of those 2 games between Alabama and Ole Miss.
Yes.
So
that would be
that'd give them 2 losses.
2 losses. At Kyle Field, I think they can escape with a win there.
Yeah. Coastal, and then maybe you lose. Clemson's going to be good this year.
Coastal, they'll win.
So I would go
Clemson.
9-3.
9-3, 10-2.
9-3, and I think they're kind of a bubble playoff team.
They squeak into the playoff.
Yeah, I think they're. I kind of like that 9-3, and then there may be the 10, 11, 12 seed in the playoff.
I'm just leaning towards 8-4 for them.
And if they go,
that's why I lean for Texas A&M because they're the
Really?
kings of 8-4.
I don't think 8-4 gets you into the playoff too.
Yeah, it doesn't.
4 losses is, even if you're playing the best competition in the entire country, 4 losses. I don't know if the committee can overlook it.
8-4 is a great record for the Music City Bowl, and that's a wonderful bowl, by the way. Just saying.
Hey, it's SEC versus Big Ten.
It is. It is
not good SEC versus Big Ten.
And they've, the Music City Bowl. You know what matchup they want? Tennessee, UCLA.
Yep.
That's
what they want.
They've already marked that down. If those 2 teams both are outside of the playoff looking in, Nissan Stadium, get ready. Nico versus the Vols.
Checker Nissan.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A reminder, our question of the day: what is a sports story that you think needs a documentary? Off the heels of the news that Cam Ward is getting his own 6-part docuseries on Tubi, from 0-star recruit to the number 1 overall pick. So what's a story that you would like to hear? We'll get to those coming up in about 15 minutes. But coming up next, if you've listened to our show on Saturdays, you know that 9:45 is time for Newt's Notes. Connor Newt takes over the show coming up next here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you smell what
Connor Newt.
is cooking.
You hear the music. It's 9:45. It may not be a Saturday, but it's still time for Newt's Notes here on the Chase and Big
I'm
Joe
fired
Show.
up. That one just got me fired up. I wasn't expecting that one, but I'm ready. Okay, so I want to shoot on modern music today. I'll go a little bit of the Rex rant route today, although we're not going to talk about.
Yeah, you doing the same one he did earlier?
No, we're not going to talk about what he talked about because I didn't know you were allowed to say that.
I may
already.
leave if you start talking about that.
So let's talk about that one scene from Sinners. We're going to shoot on modern music today and how little of effort these artists put towards their craft. Are either of you familiar with this Benson Boone character that's been popping up everywhere?
I am. I had that one song, Beautiful Things. Is that the name of the song?
Yes, he makes
Okay, I
singing
know that
sound
one.
incredibly, incredibly painful.
Yeah,
I mean, he just screams.
he does. Yeah.
He screams. Then he does this stupid backflip off of the piano, which, if that's your selling point, I'm not sure what it is. The reason I bring this up is because my sister is all over it. And I'm like, how do you listen to this garbage? Like, this is the most untalented piece of you know what that I almost, yeah.
I hope Benson's not listening.
Yeah, Benson's going to have himself an enemy if he's listening. I don't know. It's just, I'm tired of it. And that leads me to the state of modern music in general. It's all the same electronic garbage. The majority of it. Pop, we'll say.
Yeah.
Now, I love modern country and I love the direction that's headed towards. But like regular pop with these artists, like, I don't know. I like Tate McRae, but because she's hot.
Sabrina
But-
Carpenter's pretty good too.
Yeah, she's pretty good. But there are other ones like, you know, who now they're just escaping me.
I gotta say, I can't remember the last time I listened to like a pop radio station. So like I hear these songs only if like it's
If
in a
you-
commercial
or
or
you're
something
scrolling
like
through
that.
TikTok
Right,
or something.
TikTok or something
That's
like that.
the problem because all of these songs are on TikTok and you're like, make it stop. Especially this Benson Boone guy.
They're clip farmers.
They're aura farming, as the kids say. But I want you guys to go listen to this Benson Boone guy. I'll show you during the break.
I think I've only heard the one song.
Well, what they do now is they'll take old songs. Like this Benson Boone guy has this one song and it's sampled off of Physical. You know, the old 80s song.
Olivia Newton-John.
Yes.
Let's get physical. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sampled off it, which every time I hear that, I think of The Office where they do the ethics.
Let's get ethical.
Let's get ethical.
Oh yeah.
With Michael and Holly. But I'll play it for you during the break because I don't think we can play it here on the air. But it's not good.
I have an issue with his like presentation. It's like Greta Van Fleet and Freddie Mercury.
Oh
Yeah.
there you go.
Ethical.
Yeah.
I love ethical.
Get ethical. Yeah. A lot of artists are doing that though. Like was it Dua Lipa? She did like the whole album that was
It's all
basically-
80s
like,
inspired?
She sampled a bunch of 80s songs and made them into new songs.
I don't like that.
Was into a big lawsuit with that too, I believe.
I think she did ask. There have been lawsuits about it, but I think the name of the album was like Future Nostalgia or something like that. So I think she did it the right way and like actually
approval.
licensed these.
Have we learned nothing from Vanilla Ice?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know
That
about
song-
Vanilla Ice?
That song sounds nothing like why am I blanking?
Pressure?
Yeah, Under Pressure.
Yeah, nothing. I don't know. I'm just tired of modern. And I say this is my old man yells at cloud rant, as I am
It is,
younger
yeah.
than quite literally every person that works at this station. But I am one that, and I'm an old soul when it comes to music. I'm like Frasier. I listen to all the classics.
Conway Twitty, Dean Martin. Give it to me.
I mean, you got to be in a certain mood for that, but you know. Ian's laughing.
Ben on our text line says 99% of music has already been discovered. There are only so many instruments and so many chords and octaves. Unfortunately, it is what it is. And that is true.
It's
It's
true.
like there's only so many combinations of chords and melodies that you can put together.
But I look at guys like Morgan Wallen, who uses a lot of the same chords,
Yeah.
but it ends up being pretty good.
I mean, half of Morgan Wallen's new album sounds exactly the same.
Eh.
I agree to that.
Like
I
there,
like it.
there are so many songs that if you played them, I would be like, I have no idea which one this is. It could be about 12.
I like it.
There are songs on that album that I think are really good, but there are so many songs that just blend in with every other one.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though, is that, modern music, it's not the same as it used to be. But you do have some artists who are trying to get back to, less of the electronic feel and more like actual instruments.
Oh yeah. That's why I love like Chris Stapleton is a huge one.
Right. Zach Top's
Zach
been
Top. Cody Johnson is a good one.
Right.
As far as now we're just naming, country artists.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. T-Pain is the only person that is not auto-tune oriented that sounds just in.
T-Pain's
Well,
great.
But it's funny because T-Pain, when he was like super popular, it was all auto-tune.
Yeah.
And then he did The Masked Singer, and everybody realized, oh, this guy can actually sing. Like,
where was this, 10
right,
years
it's
ago?
like it sounded like he needed as much auto-tune as possible. And then he goes on The Masked Singer and he's like, oh, T-Pain can actually like you don't need to put auto-tune on all of his songs.
Now I'll say this: all rap sounds exactly the same to me.
That's
Modern rap.
Now your old man yells at cloud.
Yes, I am. Now I'm very old.
I'm not going to say I disagree with you, but like
it's a fair statement. I'd say it's fair. I'd say it's fair.
I liked it in my young high school days, which was like last week, but I don't know. I just rap now is not good.
It's not rap of early 2000s. And
No,
like the 90s.
I mean
That.
I'll listen to like the old stuff, like Tupac. I love Tupac, stuff like that. But like
the older generation of our audience is loving the content this morning with
I know.
Joe Rexroad saying,
oh, I know my audience.
saying that movies are too sexual now these days, and now Connor saying that all rap music sounds the same.
I do have an issue with this Benson Boone guy's presentation. It's like a mixture of like it's Freddie Mercury.
Yes, he tries too hard to be Freddie Mercury.
And Greta Van Fleet, the lead singer.
Which
and
Greta Van Fleet is a spinoff of what band?
Whatchamacallit?
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin, thank you. And then you look at it, the guy kind of resembles Timothy Chalamet a little bit. Like, what's up with this? All three like
I'll show you.
Go
more
into a lab and design this guy from a mannequin. I don't know.
It's the question I ask about a lot of people.
It's frustrating.
In our society.
It makes me mad.
Why did we make this person famous? There's a certain person that roamed the streets of Broadway last year. Why did we make her famous? I'm not going to say.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to say the words.
No,
on
I
this
get
radio.
it. Tim on our text line says country fans hating rap. Color me surprised. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is we're.
Is this the same Tim?
Oh, it could be.
Tim, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like rap music and I love country music. There's a difference there, but I love both of them. Okay, just give us a little break. All right. Just saying that.
Yeah, this is great. Benson Boone has no idea that he is just getting ripped to shreds on a Nashville sports talk station.
Please call in Benson Boone. I want to say all this to your face.
I stand with Connor on this.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. And coming up next, we're going to get to our question of the day. What is a sports story that you would like to see a documentary on? Again, Cam Ward getting a 6-part docuseries about his story. What's one that you haven't seen that you'd like to see a documentary on? We will give our answers next. Plenty of answers on the text line. And again, 615-737-1025. You can text or call if you'd like to answer. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for Chase and Big Joe today here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chase and Big Joe show here on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for Chase and Big Joe today. The show, as always, is sponsored by the Omni Nashville Hotel, and we are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We've made a line change behind the glass. David James is with us now.
Beat on the glass.
What's good, boys?
David,
forget about it, cuh.
Hey, homie.
Good morning,
chill.
David.
we were watching some Fast and Furious clips during the break there. Let's get to our question of the day. Lots of responses on the text line. Our question is, what is a sports story that you think a documentary, docuseries should be made on? There's been so many made, especially the Netflix Untold, have taken a lot of these stories that maybe we hadn't heard before, hence the name Untold, and have made these documentaries, but still some good stories out there. Let's first go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland wants to chime in. Adam, good morning. What's a story that you would like to see?
Well, number one, I like the 4's company group in this slide, dude. Like, do like you guys here.
Thank you.
It's not like a slight to Joe and them. I think they could do it like Jon Stewart and The Daily Show and just do it on Mondays or something, and then let you guys kind of tag in the rest of the week. I think it'd be sweet. Dude, look, all right, so Nico's the obvious answer, right? Like, I can't wait to see how involved his dad was in that. But, like, the disrespect to the Titans, dude, is just, I'll never get over it. Like, he doesn't even get to go on Netflix. Like, you got to put him on Tubi. Like, you got to put him on some reject network to give his docuseries. Like, it sucks, man. Like, I don't know. It ticked me off to hear you say that. I think it's funny. Like, it's so on par for the course with how they treat the Titans throughout history. But yeah, let's go watch Tubi. I don't even know if I have it. So
it's
I
free.
figured it out.
It is free, so we'll find a way to watch it. But yes, Cam Ward's docuseries, 6 parts, 0 star, I believe, is the name of the docuseries, coming later this year. So,
or if you don't want to watch it, just tune in here 2 to 6 when it comes out, because I'm sure Jared will spend quite the entire show
all
on
of the
it.
Clips. But that is a good one from Adam. The Nico Iamaleava drama. I'm sure eventually that one will get a documentary. Because everything does eventually. Some other answers. Devin and Dixon says Mayo Boy, the rise and fall of Will Levis.
Be a short one.
That's a one episode docuseries, I think. It wouldn't take too long. Nevada Josh, he says the story of Snead allegedly shooting up the Carlisle. He didn't say allegedly. I'll say allegedly. I don't know if that one's ever going to get made. 1554 says he'd watch the heck out of a Joe Gibbs documentary. That is a good one. From being a football coach to owning a racing team, I'm sure that would be a good series. Just
I'd watch
the life of Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
That was one I hadn't thought of before. But yeah, I mean, how many people have had that much of an impact on 2 different sports? The NFL and on NASCAR. So that's a good one. 7155 says Jamarcus Russell. I think that's a good one. One of the biggest busts in NFL history. I'm sure that probably is one that's coming, maybe on the Untold of just like.
What's funny, though, is I was actually in the Jamarcus Russell black hole the other day. You watch his first series with the Raiders when they tag him in. He looks good.
Right. One of the more talented players to come out ever. Probably. It just didn't work out.
It was also funny because you know who his coach was at the time? Lane Kiffin.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. It was. I always forget about that. Joey from Bellevue says Leicester City winning the Premier League. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, that is correct.
Let's go.
How about that?
I thought it was
Leicester.
Leicester.
I was a little
Leicester,
worried
yeah.
I was going to get it wrong.
Jamie Vardy and the boys, they were like I think it was the lowest or amount of odds to win. They were like dead last. They go to worst to first. Pretty cool.
Robert says
2017.
the Ray Lewis, and I'm going to throw alleged in here again, murder situation. Ray Lewis alleged. He says hashtag where's the suit. Yeah, I could see that. But
The suit has a doctor's appointment today.
Where's the suit? Yeah, I thought that had something to do with Ray Lewis or something like that. Yes, the suit is he will be back tomorrow. Yes, the suit and Big Joe will be back. Other answers on our text line: a docuseries for the 1972 Munich Olympics. 9270 sends that in. That's a good one. He also sent that in on Thursday. So I wonder what they were talking about there. Andrew from Dover says, how about a movie or series of behind the WrestleMania streak of The Undertaker?
Oh, yeah.
That's something you guys might know more about.
Yeah. Well, the streak was The Undertaker went 21 consecutive WrestleManias winning. And then Brock Lesnar came in shocking fashion and took him out. And it was 21-1. And to this day, actually, no, I'm wrong. The Undertaker has 2 WrestleMania losses.
Wow.
Brock Lesnar and the Tribal Chief.
Yeah.
Wow.
Roman Reigns.
Lots of good answers on this text line. Getting good interaction, kind of like all over the board too. We've seen football, all the way to wrestling and racing. 0365 says doc series on Albert Hainsworth. That would be a good one. I don't know if he would agree to talk about that because
Would his mom agree?
Would his mom agree? Big question there. Dylan in Antioch says Tony Hawk's quest to land the 900 would be cool. Yeah, I mean, it's we're all over the map. There's so many great stories.
Tony Hawk, I think Max Hoffman, the biker, that'd be fun to watch as well.
Yeah,
that was really big back in the early 2000s.
I think Tony Hawk would be an interesting one because I feel like a lot of people obviously know he's probably the most famous skateboarder, X Games kind of guy, but I don't really know a ton about his story. I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
My answer, I want a docuseries on Urban Meyer's only year with the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be that would answer a lot of questions. And, Urban Meyer's already had one kind of tell-all interview or documentary about his time. And, it wasn't as scandalous as it probably should have been, the Swamp Kings one from Untold. But I would like to see a docuseries on that 1 year in Jacksonville for Urban Meyer, because I feel like a lot.
It wasn't even a full year, was it?
Right.
Yeah.
Even though we know a lot of the stuff that went on there, I don't think we know all of it. So I think that's for me. Nick, Connor, any that are coming to mind?
Nick Saban for me. I
Yeah.
think
That's coming.
I think
Trust
if I know NFL Network's done some stuff with him and Bill, but if they were to go from the very beginning where he had his stint with the Miami Dolphins, then after that going towards Alabama or LSU,
Michigan State, and LSU, and
I think it'd be cool. Start from the very beginning and then go from there. I was thinking about the Jamarcus Russell thing we're talking about. I think a good title would be something with the screen time. I don't know, lack of screen time for Jamarcus Russell. I don't know. Because, the whole thing with the iPad or whatever, you watch film.
And then you could have the sequel, Too Much Screen Time for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you really could. That is an anomaly. It really is.
For me, take me through the career of Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
Take me through, Memphis days, then youngest MVP in league history, and then
the
what happens after the injury.
Working his way back.
I think he could do 6 episodes off of that.
That'd be a good one.
And then the other one for me is do CM Punk's return to WWE, because he did I'm wearing a shirt today, actually. If you're
there, you go.
The stream. Because he went on, it was a whole contract dispute. It's really, really interesting to listen to. He went on a 10-year hiatus from wrestling, came back to AEW, and we don't really talk about that. But it was a whole thing. As long as Vince McMahon is in charge of the company, he's never coming back. Then Vince McMahon gets some stuff happen to him, leaves the company. CM Punk is back, and he's absolutely killing it right now. I would love a documentary on that.
Those are 2 good ones. David James, I know you're back there. Do you have any that come to mind?
My first one is Coach O.
Yeah.
Coach O. From when he was at Miami to the Tennessee days, USC, and then obviously with LSU, Ole Miss.
Can we include the video of him from the other day at the water park?
Of course.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
That's the name of the documentary, but you have to say it like that.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Now another one is, and this is kind of like with a actor going into sports, Frankie Muniz, because he transitioned into speed racing,
and he's still doing the Malcolm in the Middle reboot. So he's doing that while he's racing in the truck series, which is pretty cool. So that would be a good one. Other answers on our text line. Neely says, I want a documentary on Jeb Corliss, the base jumper. Unfamiliar, but I'm sure it would be good. Ricky says Vince Young and Shaun White would be 2 good subjects. I think both of those you could get good ones. Gino says a doc series of Belichick's transition from the NFL to the collegiate level at UNC, as long as Jordan is okay with it.
We almost got that with Hard Knocks.
Right, they were going to do Hard Knocks, which I'm sure they would have banned any kind of controversial questions.
It would have been super, super censored.
Yes.
You call it closing the gap or closing the age gap. It'd be pretty
Closing the age gap.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good title.
I don't know if Jordan would agree to that title. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to give your answer. Again, our question of the day: what is a sports story that doesn't have a documentary that you would like to see? Gotten some great answers. You can text or call. We are going to move on, though, and talk some Titans on the other side. A lot of talk about, obviously, Cam Ward. He's the big story. A lot of talk about the wide receivers with Restrepo and DK and all those guys. Not a lot of talk about the Titans' young defensive players. So we're going to get into that coming up next. What can we expect from some of these rookies, some of these second-year guys who make up a good portion of the Titans' starting defense? That's up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
God.
Connor's loving the bump
Turn this
music.
off.
This actually isn't as bad as,
Just
as
wait.
some of the other ones I've.
It gets
wait,
worse.
wait, this is the song that I know. Yeah.
It gets
Okay.
worse.
Is this Daniel Boone?
Benson.
I mean,
Boone.
Benson
Daniel
Boone.
Boone.
Sorry. That's how much I think
Daniel
of this
Boone's
guy.
no longer alive. So.
Benson Boone, Daniel Boone, Lakers in 5. I mean, that's what that is.
Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, 4's Company filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin today with you till 11 o'clock when DVD takes over. And don't worry, just because we're in doesn't mean that you miss out on what day is it and celebrity birthdays. We will be bringing that to you coming up at 10:45. But let's talk a little Titans here. Titans have finished up mandatory minicamp into the offseason, and training camp coming up in just a bit over a month. July 22nd report, July 23rd first practice. So getting much closer to football season. A lot has been said about the offense, which the offense always going to grab the headlines, especially with the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. But I think the young guys on the defense for the Titans are going to be a huge factor in what this team does this year. And it starts with the second-year guys. T'Vondre Sweat, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., and I'll even throw Cedric Gray into that conversation because he'll be competing for that number 2 linebacker spot. I think the way that those guys are able to take the next step here in year 2 is going to make the difference of whether this Titans defense is above average or could be towards the bottom of the league again.
Yeah, I was looking at a picture yesterday that they put out of Femi Oladejo. First off, that dude's jacked.
He is a specimen.
But it made me think, with a guy that size, why was UCLA playing him inside?
Yeah, it does seem strange that it took them so long to figure out, like, hey,
like
this guy could be an edge rusher.
Yeah, like a guy that big should be hitting the quarterback, not dropping back in coverage. I mean, it's just weird to me. But he is the one I have my eye on the most because, yes, I think he's a project. I think he is not a player that is going to contribute immensely this year right off the gate. But I think if they put enough time and enough investment into him as an outside linebacker, I think he could be something.
Yeah, and I think the adjustment period for him, I think obviously Brian Callahan's mentioned about, Oladejo adapting to the NFL, defensive style and so forth. It's going well for him, but he has a long way to go. I get all that. To me, if you have T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons doing what they need to do and clustering the middle of the offensive line,
double teams,
Oladejo is going to have I wouldn't say an easy transition, but a more comfortable transition to getting to the quarterback. I think that's the biggest question mark is your interior defensive line going to do their job? And if they do, then your edge rushers will take care of the rest.
There's a lot of hype around T'Vondre Sweat this year because he did have a good rookie season. As Jared would say, he hasn't hit the quarterback enough, but that's not really his job.
No, he's a run stuffer.
He's supposed to stuff the run, draw double teams, and give easier matchups,
which is
for
hard
other guys.
Because everyone knows Jeffrey Simmons is the one being double teamed. He made sure to clarify.
Well, but that is why you draft a guy like T'Vondre Sweat. Maybe a little early, as has been said before, but that's why you draft T'Vondre Sweat, because you can't double team both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody's going to get a one-on-one matchup, and T'Vondre Sweat is a huge guy, so usually he's going to get 2 sent his way. But you're right. If T'Vondre Sweat has a big year, I think that leads to Draymond Jones, Arden Key, and Femi Oladejo maybe adding a couple of sacks to their total. I don't know if Oladejo is going to have a big rookie year. Like, I would expect.
But he's going to start. You have to start him day one.
Yeah, because Arden,
second round pick.
Like, Arden Key is not a 3-down pass rusher.
No,
edge defender.
Let Arden Key be a rotational piece. Like, let him come in, third down guy, but let Oladejo take the brunt of the work.
Right.
That's the way. Chase says this all the time. The best way to learn something is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Oladejo, Titans fans, and I've preached this before with other players, got to have patience with him. Because I don't know if coming off of only half a season of college football at the outside linebacker spot and jumping into the NFL, I don't know if he's going to immediately come in and just take over games. But I think it's going to slowly grow throughout the year. And then hopefully he's able to hit the ground running in his second season. I wouldn't expect like an 8-sack season from Femi Oladejo this year. But if he gets 4 or 5 and starts to show promise down the stretch, and you can start to see that he's building his repertoire of moves on the outside, I think that's what they're building for, is that he is going to be a star pass rusher in 2 to 3 years instead of immediately right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's all about building for the future. I mean, that's exactly what that is. And if you don't see any form of success in year 1 or year 2,
that's it. Yeah,
then
you got to see something.
You have to.
Well, especially on the defensive side of this draft. It is absolutely a draft for the future. Oladejo, we've talked about. Kevin Winston was probably a first-round talent, but an injury dropped him to the 3rd round. How much does he see the field this year?
I think he's one of the guys that no one is really talking about.
Right.
Like, out of the Titans draft class, you see headlines about Ward. You see them about Oladejo. You see them about the 4th-round receivers and Gunnar Helm. But no one's really talking about Kevin Winston. I think that could end up being, and Ward is different because he's a quarterback. But outside of Ward, I think Winston could end up being the best pick they make in this draft. Because you're right. He was a first-round talent who fell to them at 82.
Mm-hmm.
And if he ends up being, I'm not saying he's going to be Kevin Byard, but anywhere in that kind of realm of like a guy who makes a couple of Pro Bowls at safety, that's a steal.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're going to see it this year. And he's probably not even going to start this year. But I think he's another guy down the road that you look back and say, man, how did that guy fall into the 80s in the draft?
And I've spoken to a few people that are kind of associated with Penn State, and they've told me that
your uncle doesn't count.
No, not my uncle. No. I have friends that were they're like a graduate assistant.
Yeah.
I had one that went to A&M.
Okay,
one
that's
at
a
Penn
good
State.
source.
Yeah.
Good job.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
I've spoken directly with James Franklin about Kevin Winston.
No, and he's told me that, this guy mentally is precise on things. Like, he is a pinpoint guy when it comes to stuff like this, like when it comes to X's and O's on defense. And so I think that's a big plus for the Titans, because when you don't have, I'm going to call Winston a leader in this aspect of the conversation, because when you don't have a guy that kind of leads your secondary, I get Amani Hooker, I get all that. But when you look at everybody else, like Jarvis Brownlee Jr., year 2, I get that. You need to see a little bit more out of him. But if you can have a guy like Kevin Winston just establish some form of leadership in the secondary, I think your transition for the future is night and day great.
And I think it was Spot Track put out a contract estimate for Amani Hooker of if he was to get extended, and it would have made him the 6th highest paid safety in the NFL.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
I think you drafted Kevin Winston so you don't have to make that deal.
Yeah. They'll let him finish out. This is contract year, right?
Right.
He'll finish out the year, and then
he gets injured too often to commit 3 more years to him, especially when you did just draft a safety in the 3rd round.
I don't think he's a free safety. I think he's more of a strong safety, which is why he worked so well with Kevin Byard, because Kevin Byard was the free safety.
Yeah.
And you bring in Woods to play next to him this year. I think the plan probably is Hooker plays out this year. And unless, if he goes out and is an all-pro this year, then I think that changes something. Like, you don't just let him walk if he has the best season of his career and stays healthy. But I think the Titans' plan, barring something unforeseen, is Hooker's going to walk and Winston slides into that spot next year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think the Titans, we all know their issues with contracts. They tend to not deal with those quite well.
Right.
And so if you were to move on from Amani Hooker, it's understandable. But my issue is, like, when you give a guy a contract, don't give him a 4-year deal. I think 2-year, 3-year deals are what need to be given out. Just because when you give a 4-year deal, I have a phrase, not a phrase, everybody uses it, fat and happy. You get fat and happy with contracts. There's no incentive to play well. I mean, that's just me.
I mean, that's
also
why
the phrase you use towards skillet.
That too. Yeah.
Counting down the day. He's got 5 more days.
Yep.
Should we play
Sunday.
Final Countdown?
Oh, okay. Doesn't matter.
He'll be rooting for the Hogs later today.
Omaha.
Blue Pig Suey.
And actually, college baseball is on right now. I don't know why we have the prices right on in here. We need to.
I know.
We should flip it on.
Well, I know why Joe keeps
We've
it
got
on.
Sherry and the price is right on in here. We should put the LSU UCLA game on during the break here. Coming up next, we talked about the rookies there a lot, but the second-year guys, there's a lot hinging on them. And I want to ask the question of, if Sweat and Brownlee don't take a step this year, can you start talking about the 2024 draft class as another failure? J.C. Latham at the top, but I think a lot of it hinges on those 2 defensive players. We'll talk about that coming up next. 4's Company filling in for Chase and Big Joe today. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Talking Titans here on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Wow, David just going with all of the Benson Boone.
He's trying to make me walk out.
I know it's your favorite artist, Connor.
Yeah.
That's what I want to make sure to play your favorite artist.
Yeah.
As a friend to a friend, David, I'm going to ask you, please never play this game. This guy.
Request denied.
No, this guy stinks.
I'll make sure to continue to play this.
Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin today with you till 11 o'clock. Celebrity birthdays and what day is it coming up in about 15 minutes. Before we get back to the Titans, do want to give away some tickets. A 4-pack of tickets to the FIFA Club World Cup match at Geodis Park this Friday. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025, and you will win that 4-pack of tickets to go see the FIFA Club World Cup match.
And beat Nick Frazier for him.
Yes.
He's all over it.
Frazier, put your phone down. You can't win.
I'm not. I just pulled a Rexford and hit the mic. Sorry.
Yo, Joe.
And also want to mention in football news, the Nashville Cats have just announced that their semifinal matchup in AF1 will be on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff at F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville against the Southwest Kansas Storm. So Nashville with a absolute stomping of Corpus Christi back on Saturday. To finish the regular season. They are the 2 seed in the AF1 playoffs. So Darren Arbett and his team will take on the Southwest Kansas Storm again, 4:30 p.m. on Sunday at F&M Bank Arena. And I believe that means that Chase and Big Joe get at least one more game on the call, one more home game. So they will.
And more importantly, Jake Wallman gets one more game as the
side judge. He was at home listening back on Saturday.
He got the week off.
Yeah, he got the week off. So again, Nashville Cats in a playoff game on Sunday against the Southwest Kansas Storm. Excited for that one coming up at 4:30. Back into the Titans here. We were talking about some of the young defensive pieces. And I think outside of, we don't know what's going to happen with L'Jarius Sneed and his legal problems. But Tavondre Sweat and Jarvis Brownlee Jr., I think, might be the 2 next most important players for this defense. If they take a big step and Sweat becomes a monster in the middle of that line and Brownlee becomes a bona fide starting outside corner for this team, this defense has the pieces to be decent this year. But if they just kind of stay level and stay where they were last year, Brownlee committing too many penalties and Sweat having a couple of games where maybe he disappears, then I think this defense could struggle. And then you start to look at the rest of that 2024 class, and there's really not a whole lot there. Like J.C. Latham, I think, is going to be fine at right tackle, but that's your first-round pick. Those are supposed to hit. The rest of that class, you look at Jaquan Jackson, going to get cut this year.
Yep.
Jalen Harrell might be in the mix to be a back-end pass rusher.
He's a practice squad player.
But, yeah, he's not going to be too much. And then I'm blanking on who the Chance Gray not Chance Gray.
Chance Campbell?
No, I mixed them together. What's
Cedric Gray?
Cedric Gray. I mixed together Chance Campbell and Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray, I don't know how much expectation you can have for him. And James Williams, too. Like, you hope one of those guys becomes a starting level linebacker, but you're not sure. I think this season for Sweat and Brownlee is going to change a lot of people's minds on whether that 2024 draft class was a hit or whether it was kind of another bust.
Yeah, and I'm never at practice. I just hear whatever's online and stuff. But we all remember when Cedric Gray was drafted by the Titans. Everybody kept saying he is the green dot linebacker.
Right.
There is a lot
steal.
A stud. Yeah. Like, and he had the injury, and now he's an everybody's afterthought. Like, now you have to really build a resume for yourself. It's like starting from scratch, literally, with that guy. So
right.
I don't know. I'm very on the fence about this interior of defense for the Titans, and that's for the linebacking core.
Yeah, like Gray and Williams are going to get the opportunities to be that second guy next to Cody Barton, but I just don't know if you can fully look at them and say that they're going to be an impact player for this defense this year. College World Series on behind us.
More importantly, Livy Dunn is
Livy Dunn is in attendance. Paul Skeens is likely in or on his way to Detroit as the Tigers and the Pirates play this.
Are we getting Skeens versus Skubal?
We are not. Skubal pitches tomorrow. Skeens pitches Thursday. So missed it by a day.
That's disappointing.
It is disappointing. But
that's what baseball needs.
Right. And I understand that. There are some Tigers fans saying that, push Skubal back a day and let him pitch against Skeens. But why would the Tigers do that? Because when Skubal pitches against somebody not named Paul Skeens, you feel pretty good about winning. it would hurt their chances. Anyway, back to the Titans. How do we feel about? I feel pretty good about Sweat taking the leap and being the guy they hope he is. I think Brownlee's the real wild card because there were moments where you're like, oh wow, he shut that guy down as a 4th round rookie or 5th round rookie. But then there were other moments when he gets too handsy, he has a bad penalty, or he just gets beat.
Weather's too cold in Washington.
Right. Like, do we think that he can take that next step and go from, oh, wow, kind of promising young player for a day 3 pick to a guy who's a bona fide starter on your team?
I mean, you kind of have to, right? Look at your corner room. L'Jarius Sneed is dealing with some issues. Roger McCreary has been solid, but he hasn't really taken that step that you want him to take. Then, I mean, outside of that, Amani Hooker is, he has been what he is. And then they don't have the depth. They need this one to hit.
Which is like heading into the offseason, I was saying cornerback is the one position that you felt great about. But, Chidobe Awuzie was not great last year, but he was fine when he played, but they cut him. He's gone. L'Jarius Sneed, I think everybody thought, okay, he missed most of last season. He'll come back and hopefully be healthy. Well, even if he is healthy, who knows if he'll be on the field now. So you went from feeling good about, hey, your top 4 can be Sneed, Awuzie, McCreary, and Brownlee, to now Brownlee kind of is up there as your number 1 outside cornerback. And
McCreary, I would put in the slot.
He's the nickel back. And so I wonder, can Jarvis Brownlee Jr. live up to that? I felt good about him as your number 3 outside corner. I don't know how I feel about him as the number 1.
I mean, who else is there?
Daryl Baker,
Mike Brown,
there.
Gabe Judy Lawley,
Marcus Harris, the 6th round pick out of Cal. So there's some guys that are kind of more lottery ticket in that room, but Brownlee is the one guy in there that you kind of feel like, all right, he has to be good or else the Titans are just going to get torched through the air this season.
Well, I think that's going to happen anyway.
Well, yeah, but
you're right. It would soften the blow.
Like it is crazy how cornerback went from maybe the strongest position on this team to a real position of need in just a couple of months because of the Sneed legal questions. And, again, I don't know how good Chidobe Awuzie was, but you cut him, and that's a veteran guy who is no longer in that room.
But let's be honest for a second. We all get L'Jarius Sneed was really good in Kansas City. We get that.
He was maybe a top 2 cornerback in football.
How good is he really? We haven't seen that with the Titans. Like, we have to put him in the rearview mirror. And I'm speaking for myself. I would rather put L'Jarius Sneed in the rearview mirror and just move on.
So you're just saying, like,
scratch
if we get anything from him, great, but I'm not expecting it.
Correct. That's exactly what I think of L'Jarius Sneed.
And
I agree with you.
It's crazy that that's where it's gone from a year ago.
welcome.
Like a year ago today, I think Titans fans, even myself, was probably saying the Titans finally have a lockdown cornerback. And now it's like, if he's out there, great. If not, then you got to move on from him.
Yeah, you have to move on. You have to start looking like, and that's why we're having the conversation. I keep hitting the mic, sorry. So I keep having the conversation about Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Is that everybody's banking on him to be the best cornerback.
And he has to be.
He has to be. And if he isn't, then the Titans next year have
serious trouble.
I think next year Titans have to go all defense except for probably 2 draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of alluded to it. Titans should probably go outside backer in the 1st round. I would kind of bank on them doing that.
But if Sneed's not on your team next year and Brownlee isn't great, you kind of have to go corner then.
Right.
Like that's the dilemma that the Titans have found themselves in. I mean, it's crazy that we're talking about L'Jarius Sneed like this. And I know part of it is off the field, but we're less than 18 months removed from him punching the ball out from Zay Flowers at the goal line in the AFC Championship and basically winning that game for the Chiefs.
There's your documentary.
Like, yeah, the rise and fall of L'Jarius Sneed. Like, it is crazy to think about that because it seems so long ago, but it's less than 18 months ago that he basically took the Chiefs to the Super Bowl in that game against the Ravens.
It's culture, man. I'm just going to say it is culture. Kansas City brings out the best in a lot of those players that may not be the best player on another team.
Yeah.
And I get L'Jarius Sneed was the creme de la creme, the best of the best with Kansas City. Take him out of the red and white and yellow. He's just another player. I know that sounds very elementary to say.
No, you do have a point. That's a winning culture.
Yeah.
It feels like the Titans culture for the past lots of years has been kind of lax.
Yeah.
Kind of just, well, we're going to go out there and have fun and do our best.
It just felt like with me when the Titans signed him under Rand Carthon, it was a forced signing, and it was more of a, how do I put this? A forced signing with a push of a culture. Like he was pushed into him being the culture setter instead of the culture already being set for him to come into.
The Titans were trying to take a shortcut last year, and it failed miserably. And
set him back.
It could end up working out where if Snead does get healthy and is on the field, where he does figure it out a little bit. But I mean, I think at worst, or at best, I think at best you're looking at a league average player, even when he gets back out there. Like when he was on the field last year, he was 2 Tyler Huntley ducks away from giving up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like if Tyler Huntley puts that even remotely close to Tyreek Hill, then Snead gave up 2 75-yard bombs.
Yeah.
So
what was the one he got absolutely mossed on in the
was
end
that
zone?
in the Colts game?
It was, I think it was a divisional game.
Well, that was the only divisional game he played in, I think.
Then
that would be it.
Then
yeah.
There you go.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call for phones. We will get to, what day is it? Celebrity birthdays to wrap up the show. Even though 4's company's in, it's still the Chase and Big Joe show. And we will finish up the show with that next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt in for Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin here on the Chase and Big Joe show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
That's better. Much better.
No more Benson Boone.
Well, I couldn't find any more.
That's because he only has 2 songs, so
I can change my mind. I can go back to the
I'm good.
chamber.
This
Bless
gives
you,
me
David
this gives me
James.
just summer football.
Yeah,
vibes.
that is that's a nice change of pace from the last couple of segments.
It is.
4's Company filling in for Chase and Big Joe today. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Wrapping up the show. DVD coming up at 11. But it's time for What Day Is It? And Celebrity Birthdays. Celebrity Birthdays is brought to you by Jared Companies Incorporated. Use their electrical division for installations, inspections, upgrades, and more. JaredCompaniesInc.com, above and beyond industry standards. Nick Frazier, take it away.
All right, gentlemen, we're starting off with Global Garbage Man Day. So shout out to the garbage men. Thank you for grabbing the trash.
Thank you for giving us the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, Arizona.
Stadium course.
National Apple Strudel Day is today. Looks pretty good.
The People Strudel.
National Cherry Tart Day is today. Oh, I just clicked on Cherry Tart. Don't want to click on that. Don't want the pop up. National Eat Your Vegetables Day. Should probably do that before you eat the sugary stuff.
What's your favorite vegetable, Frazier?
Ooh, maybe yellow squash
Oh, yeah.
or eggplant.
You like eggplant?
I'm a broccoli guy.
Eggplant parm is.
I'm a big broccoli guy, too.
Like steamed broccoli.
Yeah. And cucumber. I like
Yeah,
cucumber.
I'm good with the cucumber.
But you got to do it cold.
Garlic steamed broccoli.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on grilled pineapple?
It's good. I wouldn't put it on a pizza.
Doesn't go on a pizza.
No,
Yeah.
it does not belong on a pizza.
If Nick Frazier's saying it doesn't belong on pizza, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's its own entity. Next, we have Stewart's Root Beer Day. So shout out to the root beer.
And Stewart.
And Stewart, yes. World Day to combat desert. I can't pronounce this. Oh no.
Desertification.
Who are we combating?
I don't know. Something about the drought.
It's like
Desserts?
it's like get when all the trees go away.
How do we combat a drought?
I don't
Drink
know.
water?
World Crocodile Day is next. So that's all we got.
Great ones today.
Yeah. They're just 10 star.
All right, let's get to celebrity birthdays. I'm going to do my best to be Big Joe here, but bear with me if I'm not as good as this at this as he is. Let's start with and Frazier, you're going to go first today. Usually it's Chase, but you have the seniority.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
All right, let's start. Kendrick Lamar. It is Kendrick Lamar's birthday today.
Oh,
Kendrick.
Got to get these within 2.
38.
41.
38 exactly. Nick Frazier off to a great start. Let's go with, so many YouTube stars on here. You guys will know this one. Brianna Chicken Fry. It is her birthday today.
Who?
From Barstool Sports.
Oh, I don't keep up with that garbage.
She was, she did the podcast. She was dating Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Signed an NDA.
Yeah, she's crazy, but he's crazier.
I'm going to go 34.
I'll go 28.
26.
Oh.
Connor Newt is on the board.
She's 26?
Younger than you'd think.
Wow.
Let's see. Will Forte, comedian and actor. He was on SNL for a long time. He was in How I Met Your Mother. He was Randy Wampus.
He was Randy.
Yes.
He started his own brewery.
I'm going to go 48.
42.
55. A little bit
wow.
older. Barry Manilow.
Mm.
How old is Barry Manilow, the singer, today?
Barry Manilow. 70.
78.
82.
Oh, wow.
Even older than you thought. Let's see. I don't know like half these people. Thomas Hayden Church. He is an actor. He was the Sandman in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 53.
60.
65. You guys are a little low here. Greg Kinnear. He looks familiar. I don't know anything that he would be in. Greg Kinnear. He's
58.
an actor.
58.
I wish I could tell you what he was in, but he is a movie actor. I can't show you the picture because the age is right there.
64.
62.
Hey.
Connor Newt ties it up.
Maybe the worst game of celebrity birthdays.
Yeah, this is bad. I apologize.
There has been worse.
I'm looking for some sports birthdays. It is Venus Williams' birthday. Are they twins?
They are.
No, Venus is older.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, because it doesn't say it's Serena's birthday. Venus Williams, the tennis star.
She is 42.
44. 45.
45 exactly.
Man.
Connor
Whoa.
Newt takes the
3-1.
lead. 4-2 is
Look,
our
Sherry's
score.
dancing.
Oh, it's 4-2.
4-2.
Man, where have I been?
Let's
Below
see.
me.
There's not a lot of good sports ones today. Keith Sims, former American football offensive guard, is the way that they put it. He was a Pro Bowler from 1993 to 1995.
And his name again? I'm sorry.
Keith Sims.
Keith Sims.
I thought you said Keith Sweat.
I'm gonna go 59.
63.
58.
Okay.
Frazier gets back within one. It's 4-3. The speaker in the lead. Dermontti Dawson, former NFL center with the Pittsburgh Steelers. How old is Dermontti Dawson today?
43.
41.
He's 60.
Oh,
60.
We're close.
Great.
Yeah,
for
you
his
guys were
age.
right there. Lots of offensive linemen with birthdays today.
meat and potatoes.
Kevin Glover, former center with the Detroit Lions. How old is he?
Name sounds familiar. 52.
61.
Having to do math in my head. He is 62.
So
It only tells me the year that they're born on this page.
Gotcha.
So let's do one more. Right now it's 5-3 Connor Newt.
Got a chance to tie it here.
So Frazier has to get this one exactly. Let's go with Bobby Bell, a Pro Football Hall of Fame linebacker. He won the Super Bowl in 1970 with the Kansas City Chiefs. So that gives you a little bit of a timeline.
67.
no, I'm gonna go way older. 79.
He is 85.
Oh.
85 years old. So a little bit further up there, but that means Connor Newt wins.
How many
5
times
to
have I
3.
beaten you consecutively?
3.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Own your ass.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I should have asked Big Joe for whatever site he uses because I was just lost there.
You
I was
don't.
scrolling through like 2 different ones, trying to find them. All of them were TikTok or YouTube stars, which I had never heard of before. So,
Joe finds it somehow. I don't know. He
I don't
goes
know.
like
He
The
asks
web.
them individually. Hey, how old are you today?
he'll email each of them and just yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
he confirms it personally with all of the people on Celebrity
He
Birthdays.
sure
He knows
does.
them all, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, he's Nashville's media darling. Look right there.
He's
That's
right
why.
behind me.
It does say right there.
Right
yeah.
behind me is Joe Dubin, his book, and the cast of 3's Company
Yes.
Mhm.
We're 4's Company.
for now.
For now, yes. And you can find us 9 to noon on Saturdays if you enjoyed what you heard today. We are just in for today on the Chase and Big Joe Show. The Suit and Big Joe Dubin will be back tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Guys, it was fun.
Yeah. It's all right.
It was, yeah.
You guys were okay.
It was
I was
fun.
great. You guys were all right.
Appreciate Chase letting us fill in today. Again, they
Yes.
are back
you.
tomorrow. DVD coming up next here on 102.5.